All right, so buckle up, everyone, because today we're doing a deep dive into the SAP Green Book.
Ah, yes.
Have you heard of this one?
I have, yeah.
This is the kind of trusty guide for anyone who's ever felt like, their SAP system was, I don't know, more of a ball and chain than a helpful partner.
Yeah,
We're talking marriage counseling, but for enterprise software, that's what we're doing here today.
exactly. And just like a marriage, the real work begins after the honeymoon phase is over. So after that initial implementation,
Oh, that's good.
that's when the rubber meets the road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So no more quick flings with the latest software. We're talking about building a lasting, committed relationship with your SAP system.
That's right.
Speaking of lasting relationships, though,
Yeah.
this book throws around some interesting numbers when it comes to these systems.
It really does.
Like, how long are we talking about here?
Right. They highlight that the average lifespan of an SAP implementation is a whopping 20 to 30 years, which is incredible.
Oh, wow.
Figure 1.2 really drives this home. That's longer than many marriages, folks. And you know what that means. You better be ready to put in the work to make it successful.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So are most companies truly prepared for this kind of long-term commitment?
That's a good question.
Or are they stumbling into a relationship they're just not ready for?
Honestly, many are more like deer in the headlights. The book talks about how companies often get so caught up in the excitement of the wedding, that initial implementation, that they forget to plan for the long haul.
Oh, that's interesting.
They get so excited about that go-live date and they think, oh, we made it, we're done. But that's really just the beginning, right?
It's like forgetting to celebrate anniversaries when you're so caught up in the day-to-day.
Exactly. Exactly.
And speaking of which, the book mentions something called the 7-year itch that can plague these SAP implementations. Tell me more about this.
So the 7-year itch refers to those all too common post-implementation pitfalls.
Okay.
Think. You're not getting the business benefits you expected, users are completely lost in the system, and different parts of the system that just refuse to talk to each other. It can get messy.
Oof. Those are some serious itches. And I imagine one major culprit here is that companies often treat SAP like it's just another IT project.
You hit the nail on the head. They bring in the tech experts, flip the switch, and hope for the best, but that's not really how this works.
Right.
But without a clear vision and strong business process ownership, things can go south really quickly. Oh, for sure.
It's like building a house without a blueprint. You might end up with extra rooms, but will it actually be livable?
Good point. Speaking of blueprints, though, the book does offer a sort of roadmap, right? Something about an SAP maturity model. I think I saw that in there.
Absolutely, yeah. It outlines 5 distinct levels of maturity, ranging from simply getting those core SAP applications up and running to achieving a fully evolved center of excellence.
Ooh, a center of excellence.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking what, like a dedicated dream team of SAP gurus? Is that what that is?
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
Okay.
They're really firing on all cylinders. They've got all the best practices down pat.
But where do most companies fall on this maturity scale? Are we talking like mostly at the top? Or are they more towards the bottom? You'd be surprised. Many are stuck at the bare minimum stage, just keeping the lights on, so to speak. They're missing out on the incredible potential of SAP to truly transform their business.
It's like they bought a Ferrari and they're just using it to go get groceries.
Exactly. They're not even putting it in first gear.
Yeah, they're just using it to drive around the block. Wild. So how do they break free from that? Like, how do companies, I don't know, break free from that bare minimum mentality and start climbing that maturity ladder?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, according to this book, it all kind of boils down to this: taking ownership. It's about moving beyond the idea that SAP is just an IT system, it's just this thing in the back office. No, it's about recognizing its potential as a strategic lever for business transformation.
I like that, taking ownership. But where do you even start? It feels like such a massive system.
Oh, it can be incredibly overwhelming. And that's why the book really stresses the importance of having a clear roadmap, right? You don't just want to wander around in the wilderness.
Right.
And that's where those KPIs come in, those key performance indicators we hear so much about.
Right.
But it's not enough to just kind of, measure things randomly. You need to focus on the metrics that truly matter to your business.
Okay, yeah. KPIs, everyone always talks about these.
Everyone and their mother.
But the context of, like, SAP.
Yeah.
What's an example that would make me kind of sit up and say, all right, that's important?
Oh, okay, so imagine, right? Imagine being able to track your order-to-cash cycle time down to the minute. Right.
Yeah.
That's a KPI that could make or break your business.
Mm-hmm.
How quickly can you get that cash in the door?
Oh,
Or how about inventory turnover rate?
okay.
How often is your inventory turning over? Because the book actually mentions a company that used SAP to uncover this huge discrepancy between their physical inventory and what their systems said they had. And what they found was that they were sitting on mountains of unsold products, just wasting away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, talk about an expensive wake-up call, right?
That's a big door.
Yeah.
But knowing that information, that's just the first step, right? Then you got to figure out what to do.
Exactly.
What do you actually do with those KPIs?
So this is where, in my opinion, SAP can really shine, right? You gather the data, you analyze it, you pinpoint those bottlenecks in your operation, then you can re-engineer those processes, but with SAP as your secret weapon.
So it's about using those KPIs to keep your SAP system in sync with your evolving business needs. Right?
Yeah.
Constantly adapting and optimizing, just like in a good marriage.
Okay, I think we can retire the marriage analogies now.
All right, I'll stop.
You're right, but you're right in a sense, right? It is about that constant feedback loop between your business goals and your SAP system.
Fair enough. So we're humming along, measuring KPIs, optimizing processes, but let's be honest, keeping a complex system like SAP running smoothly,
Yeah,
that requires a lot of resources, right?
it does, for sure.
So the book touches upon strategic outsourcing as a potential solution here.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do we need to know about that?
Think of it this way. You wouldn't expect a heart surgeon to also manage the hospital's billing department, right?
Yeah.
They have their specialty, right? And it's the same with SAP. By outsourcing those non-core tasks, you're freeing up your internal team to focus on what truly moves the needle for your business.
That makes sense. But outsourcing can be a bit of a minefield, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
How do you know what to outsource and, how do you even find the right partner? These are big questions.
Those are crucial questions. And luckily, the book actually provides a great framework for kind of assessing your outsourcing readiness.
Okay.
It boils down to honestly evaluating your internal capabilities.
Yeah.
What are you good at? What are you not so good at? What are those core competencies that you need to keep in-house?
Yeah, that's a good point. Got to figure that out first, right? But once you do know what to outsource,
Yeah.
how do you find a partner who's, truly a good fit? Someone who gets your business and won't just treat you like another number.
You got to shop around, right? Think of it like finding a specialist for your health, right? You want someone with a proven track record, but you also need someone you can communicate with openly and trust to have your best interests at heart, right? You're not going to go to just any doctor.
Right.
You want someone who you trust.
Exactly.
And the book really stresses the importance of finding an outsourcing partner who understands your unique needs and goals.
Okay.
It's about building a true partnership, not just handing off a task and hoping for the best.
It's about quality over just ticking a box.
Exactly.
For sure. But let's shift gears for a moment here. There's a topic in the book that I honestly wasn't expecting: sustainability.
Yeah.
It argues that SAP customers actually have a pretty big carbon footprint. How is that even possible?
Well-
It's just software.
Well, think about the sheer scale of these systems, right? You've got servers, data centers, all that computing power humming away 24/7.
Yeah.
It consumes a tremendous amount of energy, which unfortunately translates to a hefty carbon footprint.
That makes sense when you lay it out like that. You don't really think about that on a day-to-day basis.
Not at all, no.
But those servers aren't powering themselves. So what can companies actually do to lighten their impact? Is it just about using less energy? Or are we talking about something more?
Energy consumption is definitely part of the puzzle, but the book goes deeper than that. It suggests that one of the most effective ways to reduce your environmental impact is to actually leverage SAP to optimize your business processes. So that means streamlining operations, eliminating waste, and ultimately reducing your overall resource consumption.
Okay, so give me a real-world example. How can SAP help a company be more sustainable in a tangible way?
So the book highlights a great example with transportation management, right?
Okay.
Imagine a company using SAP to optimize their delivery routes.
Oh.
So they're reducing fuel consumption, minimizing mileage, and ultimately shrinking their carbon footprint.
Yeah.
And here's the best part. Those sustainability initiatives can often go hand in hand with some cost savings as well.
It's a win-win
Exactly, for the planet and the bottom line.
for the planet and the bottom line.
Yeah.
I love it. Now, we've talked about outsourcing, but what about the folks, the people on the ground?
Yeah.
Those everyday users who are really, the backbone of any successful SAP implementation. What do they need to know?
You're talking about the end users, right? The folks who are logging in and using these systems every single day. Yeah, and the book makes a very compelling case for continuous training and support for those users.
Okay, we touched upon training earlier, but it sounds like we're not just talking about a one-time thing.
Right.
This needs to be ongoing.
Exactly. Think of it like, learning a new language, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect to become fluent after just one course.
Right.
SAP is constantly evolving, new features are added, updates are released, best practices change.
Yeah.
So without that continuous training, those users, they risk falling behind
Right.
and not harnessing the full potential of the system.
And we all know what happens when systems aren't being fully utilized.
Oh, yeah.
Inefficiency, frustration, and ultimately a hit to the bottom line.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. So it's
Yeah.
not just about, telling people what to do. It's about giving them the tools and the knowledge to really thrive in that system.
Precisely. Plus, when companies invest in that ongoing training for their employees, they're not just improving their SAP skills.
Right.
They're fostering this culture of continuous learning and development, which I think is so important these days. And that leads to a more engaged, more productive, and ultimately a more valuable workforce.
Yeah, it's about empowerment, not just instruction. That's a good message. I like that.
Yeah.
But what about the relationship between these businesses, these companies, and SAP itself? The book kind of hints that it can be a little complicated.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, any long-term relationship. It requires work from both sides, right?
Right.
And sometimes SAP can fall into that traditional vendor-client dynamic, right? Where, they're focused on selling software and upgrades, but then the businesses are kind of left to fend for themselves when it comes to actually making those investments work, right?
So how can we avoid that?
Yeah.
How can companies move beyond that dynamic and build a more collaborative,
Yeah.
Mutually beneficial relationship with SAP?
I think communication is key, right? The book encourages businesses to be proactive, go to conferences, join those user groups, connect with other SAP customers, share best practices, and definitely don't be afraid to reach out to SAP directly with questions and feedback.
Oh, that's good.
The squeaky wheel gets the grease, as they say.
That's great advice. So we've covered a lot of ground today. We've gone from the kind of long-term commitment of an SAP implementation to the importance of continuous learning, and even that surprising connection between enterprise software and, sustainability.
Yeah, it's a wide range of topics.
If you had to, distill all of this down to one key takeaway for our listeners today, what would it be?
For me, it's this. SAP is a powerful tool, but it's not a magic bullet, right? To truly unlock its potential, you need to approach it as a long-term partnership, one that requires ongoing investment, continuous learning, and a willingness to embrace change.
Well said. And remember, dear listener, you don't have to go it alone. There are resources available, experts to guide you, and a whole community of SAP users out there who are navigating these same challenges.
Absolutely. And if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, the book is brimming with even more insights, strategies, and real-world examples to help you make the most of your SAP investment for sure.
Couldn't agree more. Now, here's a final thought to ponder as we wrap up. The book really emphasizes maximizing the business value of SAP.
Yeah.
But what if we took it a step further?
Yeah.
What if we used the power of SAP, not just to, boost our bottom line, but to make a real difference in the world?
That's a powerful thought. Imagine using this technology to tackle some of the world's most pressing challenges.
Exactly. From promoting sustainability to, even advancing social good, the possibilities really are kind of endless when you think about it, right?
Right.
Maybe that's the next chapter in the SAP story.
Yeah.
Using this incredible tool to create a better future, not just for business, but for everyone.
I love that.
All right, everyone. That's all the time we have for today. As always, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Until next time.
We'll see you next time.